Hi guys, this is 65MA here. In this video we will be talking about the new Simchair Mark IV cyclic base I've just finished building. Um, I will tell you about differences from Mark III model during a short flight around the airport. This is Dreamfoil Bell 407, X-Plane 11, and we're sitting on the runway of the Forest 2 Ken Jenstedt airfield. So let's take off, and I will tell you about the key differences from the Mark III model, which was current up to this day. So there was a few problems with Mark III gimbal. Most irritating one was the stick trying to rotate sideways. You know, after some time it had to be tightened to avoid lateral rotation of the stick when the stick was mounted under the chair, which was actually a preferred and recommended way to mount it. So this was a nasty problem, and I decided to fix it by adding a second bolt to the stick connector. So the Mark IV base has two bolts, and the stick can no longer rotate sideways, and I should say this is cool, and I already can feel how rigid it is, so I'm no longer afraid of pushing the stick too far, and that it may cause my stick to rotate and to lose its position. This no longer can happen. So another cool feature of the new cyclic stick is that it's actually more precise by design, because it uses precise metallic axis. It uses metallic hubs which are exactly 7.8 millimeters in diameter. So we only have 0.2 millimeter between the bearing and the axis, which is a fairly tight fit. So I noticed that with such precise axis, the jitter of inside the bearing itself becomes more noticeable than the jitter between the bearing and the axis. So to compensate for it, I decided to add more bearings, and now we have 4 bearings per axis, which makes it super stable. So you can see how smooth our ride is. So the new model is slightly bigger than the previous one due to an extra bolt in the middle and the space needed to fit some additional bearings. But it's also stronger, and it feels better because of 2 points I just told you about. So software wise it's the same thing as the Mark III gimbal. It uses the same ADS 1115 ADC, 15-bit, very nice ADC, which makes it so precise. Let's speed up a little. So it works with the same four-stream system that was used to make flying with Mark III version more comfortable. The first version of the gimbal will use springs, just like as the same springs as were used in Mark III version. The subsequent versions will use pneumatic cylinders with springs or without springs. I'm not sure yet. I will have to, craft it and look at how it feels. So so far, I can tell I really like how it performs. Right now I'm flying at 80% linear sensitivity setting. It also works just like in Mark III version. Nothing changed here because the software is the same. Another very nice feature is that I have removed I2C wires from both Mark IV cyclic and collective bases, and now these devices will feature an additional Ethernet socket. So it will be really easy to replace a broken wire if if it breaks over time, which actually can happen. Because now we have plenty of space to fit this additional socket, and I thought it might be quite useful. Let's try land somewhere. It's a slope here, so I will hover next to the ground for a while. You know, I really like the new gimbal. It's great. It feels great. It's very precise. It feels stronger. The stick itself feels more rigid. The stick itself is slightly changed because, you know, it now needs two bolts to connect to the base. So the bottom part of it is slightly different, but really only slightly, because, you know, the stick was actually great. I think the important part of this stick is ergonomics, because the B8 grip is not just mounted you know, straight. You can mount it at an angle. It feels much better than a straight stick, trust me on that. So you can adjust it in can rotate it along yaw axis. You can incline it, and you can, you know, slightly adjust the stick shape. So you can adjust stick length, or you can adjust every part of the stick. So you can definitely make you know, something with it that will feel great for your particular, you know, flight chair or physical, you know, preferences. So while flying, I can use 4-stream system just like with Mark III stick, which I do with great pleasure, because for example, with it I can fly and keep my ball centered at all times. So I level the helicopter, press the 4-stream button, and then I let the controls go to, you know, their physical centers where springs will return them. And then I have no forces on the stick, just like with the real 4-stream system. And because I don't really see my physical controls, I only see my virtual ones, and I have no forces on you know, my controls, it feels fairly realistic. Note that in a helicopter your movements with the stick are fairly, you know, short, especially with 407, which is known to be controlled more like by telepathy than by actually pressing the stick. So basically physical stick stays centered at all times, and you map the joystick position you want, the virtual you know, controls position you want, to your preferred physical stick position. If you want to know more about the 4-stream system, please look at the for stream tutorial on my site hc605ma.org. I tried to describe how it works in detail there. You can also adjust, for stream with the head switch on the B8 grip. So if you slightly miss your cyclic, sweet spot, just adjust it, just move it a bit with the head switch, and it will feel great. Okay. So except for pneumatic mod that will follow, I'm not sure what else to wish for. It feels perfect. A bit of aggressive maneuvers. Just to look, at I like it, it's very precise. So guys, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. There's no manual yet, but you can actually use the Mark III manual. It's just a bit different. You can ask me in comments or on my Discord channel about the difference in the build process. It's not hard to build it. So I think it's very safe to build now, and it's definitely worth it. However, if you own the Mark III version of the cyclic, I doubt you will probably, won't feel a huge difference between them. Yes, this one is maybe slightly more precise, mechanically, but only very slightly. So if your Mark III reinforced gimbal works, then stick with it until you feel it needs maintenance. Then just build yourself a Mark IV version, because it's really cool. But if you have the Mark III version, again, no need for immediate upgrade. You won't notice like very huge difference. Yet if it will be your first gimbal, absolutely build the Mark IV version instead of Mark III, because it's better. Thanks for